I put this together when I was at Michigan State University, and I had 3 really good PhDs working with me. We did all kind of strange things, that proved that this system that we found, that, when the head is moving and all that kind of stuff. And that's really what set it out. The reason I even found out about this system, the craniosacral system, was, and here, there was a guy named Delbert Smith, and he was the father-in-law of a good friend of mine. And the wife called, his daughter called, when I had my office over on Clearwater Beach, and I was quite busy. I was seeing maybe, on the average, 45 to 50 patients a day, and I would have 10 in the hospital. So I was pretty busy, but I enjoyed it. And I could throw rocks out the front door of my office into the Gulf of Mexico. And the people that were there were from Boston or everywhere, and, they're getting all kinds of problems with sunstroke and, things like that. Anyway, Delbert, they called about and said that he was laying on the floor in the bed, in the living room of their little house. They had a nice little frame house. They were rather poor. And he's vomiting blood. And they can't get him to stop, and, so on and so forth. So I made a house call over there, and it looked to me like his liver was going bananas and his stomach was bleeding. So I called the ambulance, and I had my own concepts at that time about ambulances and not being all excited. So I told the ambulance driver, drive 35 miles an hour, start this IV, and I started an IV when I saw what he had, and started the IV and let it go slow and keep it very quiet. And when he gets in a hospital, I want him in a dual room, 2 people in a room. And that's how it turned out. Well, I worked with him, and he had a viral infection of the liver, and that's what had occurred. He had, viral hepatitis. And then, of course, the stomach did some bleeding for him, but so did the liver. And I got him straightened out and got him back home, and he was doing fine. And about 10 days later, his son-in-law called me, and he said, he can't walk. I said, what do you mean he can't walk? He said, his feet hurt so bad. And I said, what are you talking about? His feet hurt. He can't put any pressure on them. He can't stand on them. He can't walk on them. He can't even hold them up against anything. So I thought, well, I'll be over there. So I made a house call over there, and he didn't have his shoes on. I went in there, and the bottoms of his feet were all black, and the skin was hard as a rock and cracking. Wow. And it was peeling off, and underneath was just a bloody raw tissue. I thought, what the hell happened here? And we had a new guy come in that joined us at Suncoast Hospital, and I liked him very well, and we were getting along good because he played a trumpet, and we had a little jazz band coming out of the hospital staff. See, and I was
the musical connection.
Yeah, and every Sunday afternoon we'd have a hookup at the trombone player's house. He was the chief surgeon. And we'd have about 3 hours of that stuff, and it was a lot of fun. So we played for dances for the hospital staff, things. It was fun, okay? Anyway, I got him in there, and this Jim Tyler, he was the new guy, and he was the brain surgeon. And I said, Jimmy, would you see if you can figure out what is causing the feet to peel like that? And he said, well, sure. And he came back to me in a little bit. He'd only been on the staff maybe 3 or 4 months. And he came back and he said, I think I need to do some x-rays on his neck. I said, what for? He said, well, you'll find out. But and he had come back and he had done his brain surgery studies in Japan. He didn't go through it in this country. He went to Japan for that. And so he did a very delicate x-ray, and we saw a plaque of something or other on the back of his spinal cord about halfway down his neck. And he said, I said, well, what the hell's that got to do with the bottom of the feet? He said, you'll see. He said, in Japan, they know about this. I said, what? He said, I don't know, but they know that anything, anywhere along this tube, you can have a problem at any other place in the body. It doesn't have to be close to each other. So we took the x-rays, and he said, we got to get that plaque off of there, otherwise he won't walk anymore. So, hey, I'm with you, babe. And so we took him into surgery, and he was laid down on his face, on his belly, and his face was in a ringer mask, kind of thing. And I was assisting. So he slid open the neck, and he pulled the sides apart, and got a nice place. And here was this white thing about the size of my thumbnail. And it was all white and blackish. And he said, okay, John, you take two forceps here, and you hold that tissue so that I can remove it without having it run up and down or damage the membrane that's underneath it. So I'm holding there, and I'm going like this. And he's getting on my case. He said, can't you hold your damn hand still? And I said, no, it keeps moving. And he didn't know about this either. And we kept on going like that. And I said, what's the rhythm in here? Where's it coming from? He said, I don't know. And the intern was there. They're supposed to know everything. They just got out of school. He didn't know anything about it. The anesthesia guy says, I don't know what the hell that is. And so it went on like that for a whole half an hour, I guess. And finally he managed to get little pieces off until he got it all clean, but I could never hold it still. And when the plaque was gone, the membrane was going like this. And that was my seeing, and nobody else in the operating room seeing it, and nobody else I ever talked to saw it, but that was the beginning of craniosacral rhythm.